Now my favorite type.
Shall I just say that
I love
it kind of goes like every week there's a different type.
I am multidimensional. Anyways, all right, shall we? Before we get too carried away.
Hello.
This is the podcast, girls.
In the city, you are welcomed by your two lovely co-hosts, me, Susanna, whose one-liner for this week is seek substance over appearance.
Okay, we'll unpack that one in a minute. And me, Elizabeth, who is learning how to talk to strangers.
That's a good one.
Thank you. So what does yours mean? Explain to me.
You completely keep avoiding the last part.
Sorry. All right. In our podcast.
People that, never heard any of previous episodes. You need to keep.
Well, they should look at the pilot. Just kidding. All right. Anyways, in this podcast, we watch an episode of Sex and the City. We figure out what the main question is. We try to answer it. And we also dissect the other general themes while also adding some personal experiences to give it a modern twist.
Yay!
Thank you. Can you unpack the one-liner now?
Now everyone is on the same boat, so we can go to the actual question that you asked.
We'll swim together.
So as I showed you like 2 minutes ago, I have like a jillions of these posts that I write, and a lot of them are notes, a lot of them are just, thoughts or quotes that I see, and I like to keep surrounding myself with these things because it keeps me focused, let's say. And this one is, I have it here, seek substance over appearance. I think the message for me there is don't go for shiny things or, things that look good on paper or by people. Go for things that are deep and you can connect with.
Yeah. I guess like
beyond the surface level.
Yeah, dig beyond the surface level, like what is actually at the core. I like that. That's nice. Yeah. Have you been this week?
I think not much has happened this week, honestly, because if there would be, I would probably tell you.
Fair.
There is a new painting behind me,
which we can't see because you're in a square.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
We'll post it. It's fine.
It didn't happen last week, but
yeah,
a little bit before that, but it was a very cool experience. I went for this activity called Paint and Pint or Paint and Sip, whatever, they are different names.
The drink and draws, yeah.
Yeah, and it was very fun. They basically make you all draw the same thing. They guide you through the activity and you can drink by the same time, which, spoiler, not good thing for me.
Susanna and cheap wine don't mesh.
No, Susanna and alcohol don't match. That is why.
I think it was like if it was good, expensive wine, you would have been fine, actually. We need to like experiment with this. I think you would have been fine.
So for our listeners, I had 2 glasses of wine, which were small, like small glass. It was in a champagne small, glass, so not like a proper wine glass. I had so bad hangover the next day that I had to take ibuprofen, electrolyte, eat half of a banana, which was struggle to eat that half of a banana.
Yeah.
And then somehow I got better and I actually was able to put something normal into my stomach. And then, I was like, okay, it's fine. But the whole day I was
recovery.
just. Yeah. So, and that's after 2 glasses of wine. My body just keep telling me every time I drink that's not a good idea. You don't do that. That's why you are a driver. In every
and she's an excellent driver.
Event.
She's an excellent driver.
Because of that, because I couldn't drink. I would just be like, yeah, I could drive. But it was fun. I enjoyed the moment. I didn't enjoy it that much next morning. But I have a very nice painting and it's amazing. Not because they guided us to it, but because I'm a great artist.
Truly.
How have you been?
I'm good. Mostly working. Went to a couple of the events at the Ned this week. That was fun. There was like a a forest foraging event, which is very interesting. They like the Ned partnered with a like this luxury travel agency called The Essentialist. And they do the events, so they'll invite like local like either food critics or someone else. And this time this guy is writing a book on like wild food. And so he's partnering with a couple of chefs who also like
What's wild food?
so wild food is not like farm produced. It's things that you find in the forest, like in natural habitats,
Like mushrooms?
like mushrooms, truffles, like berries, a lot of things like that. And so he's writing a book on it. And yeah, apparently he's like really big into it. That was one event. And then the other event was like hosted by a fellow member, but she's a professional matchmaker. Like she's been doing this for 16 years. And I thought the event, I've been to her one of her other events, and I thought it was gonna be like her previous one, where it was like a bigger one that you all like sit there and listen to her lecture, on dating. And I love going to them just to like take notes for the podcast, obviously. But this time I walked into it and the room was like very small and it was like only 8 people. And I was like, oh, this is very intimate. But as a result, like it was interesting conversation, a bit of a chaotic situation, but it was nice we also got to talk to her like one on one afterwards. So
That's a very interesting format. I feel like these days it's all digital. So when you're actually having
that's the
in-person stuff
whole
like this,
point. Yeah, 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 yeah. And she was also like, she said that she loves the in-person stuff because her clientele is also like starting to be frustrated with the digital experience with online dating as well. And her clientele is obviously older and a lot of them are affluent people. And so they don't want to be seen on dating apps. Like the fact that people might see them on
hmm,
it is like a problem. And so that's why she's like, that's like people come to us for because it's like more anonymous and like we'll actually
you mean
do the work
like
for them.
people like the CEO of astronaut, although he
Yeah,
doesn't need to
exactly.
be.
Well, he's no longer
I think
CEO
he
from
needs
what I've
to be
heard.
now. Do you think, sorry, sideways, do you
Yeah,
think that he will stay with this girl after they got exposed?
I have no clue. I've got no clue. I think they're definitely gonna get both divorced, but
Yeah.
because that's just messy. But yeah, so that was me this week. Otherwise, I'm just trying to stay out of the heat because I walked to the coffee shop today and I like melted. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I'm not envious at all. You
It's
say
just
it's like
so humid.
35
It's like
degrees. That
35 and humid. So
London is keeping it cool,
yeah.
finally.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
little bit of rain there and there,
But you gotta
perfect.
water the plants, like, something's gotta water the grass.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like I have a park really close by and it's an open area. The grass is not grassing, it's just yellow.
yeah, it needs the rain. It definitely
Yeah.
needs the rain. Alright, well, we're on season 2, episode 11. It's called The
Yes.
Evolution, The Circle of Life.
Okay. So this week's episode has been packed with many things. It's called Evolution. And why we have this name is because I feel all the characters are going through some kind of evolution, either personal or more reflective of a general societal state. In the last episode, Carrie's relationship with Dick evolved into love. And the feeling that they've taken the relationship to the next level probably is not probably is what Carrie always wanted. So, to this episode, we see that she is struggling with the boundaries in her relationship with Big as he kind of resists for her to take space in his apartment. She's trying to leave things there, small things like a hair dryer or some clothes, and that is like apparently a big thing for her but also in general. And at some point, he returns it back to her, which makes her question how real or how emotionally intimate they really are if he doesn't want to let her have some parts of his place. And we also go more in depth into the whole idea of how much time or space we should share together if we are in a committed relationship versus not. So that's a scary part. We can, dive deeper in that as we go through it. Samantha, she reunites with her ex, who I think I don't know if we ever heard about anyone else but Dominique, but this guy broke her heart, which is shocking to Samantha. So I think probably this was some time ago where Samantha still was an emotionally open and vulnerable person. She was in love with him. He broke her heart and left with Anka. I think Eastern Europeans based on the name. Now she wants to basically give him revenge and be the one that leaves him, only to realize that she can't do it, and she gets vulnerable very easily with him. And in the end, he does the same that he has done a few years ago. Samantha goes with it and says, "No, this time I need to be the one who leaves and does this." She gets a little bit of an tantrum, but yeah, at the end of the day, she realizes that it's actually better that she feels something, because that means that she still has the feelings and she's not completely dead inside, and that makes her feel good. So that's kind of an evolution of, I am still someone who can develop feelings and feel love. For Samantha, a big thing. Then we have Charlotte, who dates a man who seems, or his sexuality seems ambiguous. So she's challenging her ideas about, the gender roles and more like feminine and masculine energy in relationships, and where the balance should be, and specifically where the balance is for her, and how that influences attraction. At the end, she stays over his place. He has very nice place. He's a pastry chef, um, and is very in tune with art and beauty in general. And she loves his kitchen. They have a great date. And the next morning, there's a mouse in the house. And long story short, the guy freaks out more than she. And she realizes in that moment that no, this is too much. I can never be with the man who can't take a mouse outside of the house. Like, it's too feminine. So she gonna make a peace with it. Like always, Charlotte does. She's going through something, and then like she just like switches from one moment to another when she realizes that's not what she want to put value in, which I like. And then we have Miranda. Miranda is being notified that basically one of her ovaries is not working. So she only has one ovary left. And that starts the whole spiraling process for her about reproductive health and whether she wants to have children or not, and whether she should freeze eggs. She is at some point on a date with a colleague or someone who works in law as well. I, I like how Miranda approached this conversation on this date, because the guy, he has had some hair loss issue. And as a result, like, did he get
Hair transplant. They call
hair
it like hair
transplant?
plugs, but yeah, it's like a hair transplant basically.
And she can't stop looking at his hair because it's not fully grown yet, but like you can see the hair growing, and the guy is super happy about it. He was like, "Yeah, like I was always concerned about my hair loss, but now like this is such a great thing. I'm very happy with it." So like looks very progressive and enthusiastic. And then she was like, there are also things that I have been thinking about recently that I thought I would never think about. It's like, yeah, what it is. And she told him about the problems that she has in terms of her reproductive health, and then how she's thinking about freezing her eggs, to which he reacts very conservatively, let's put it that way, and says something along the lines that he doesn't understand this whole novelty and innovation around reproductive health, and women being given more time to have children, or more options to have children if they struggle. I think the best quote to kind of close this is, I don't think there is much, like, I don't like the fact that it gives option to desperate 50-year-old women to be mothers and have children. I think that if you are not naturally given the right to have children by God, then it's just not for you. And I think that should be it, which is really, really hypocritical given the fact that he literally did the
Just
hair
a salty
transplant.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, I mean, she is like a queen, and I don't know what exactly she said. And do you know? Do you remember what she said?
It was something like it's kind of ironic coming from a guy who's literally doing crop rotation on his head,
Yeah,
which
that's
I
that was
that was very quick and witty of her. That was
that was great.
yeah.
Yeah, so she leaves that. She decides to not do the IVF at the end, and realizes that she still has time. Yeah, that's pretty much the summary. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it, honestly. Yeah, I think we can just dive in with the main question. So the question here is, have we evolved past relationships? Which I think is again, pretty big question back then, seeing like how technology and things have played into the role of relationships and like how far women have advanced in their like education and career and everything else. Like the role of relationships in people's lives has changed, but I think like even since then it's changed a lot more. But as Carrie was writing this column, she was talking to Samantha about it. And Samantha, like her quote, which I loved, was relationships have been on a decline since women have left the cave and realized, well, this isn't so hard. Which I thought is such a good start because, like, he's saying that for centuries and centuries, women have not actually really needed men because they can do it on their own. Which I think cues up the conversation very nicely of like, what is the purpose of men in women's
Oh,
relationships and lives?
oh,
I'm not saying that
that's such a big question to highlight. Like, what's the point of having a
but
man for?
no, but that's the point of like same thing with men and women, right? Like I at the matchmaking event met a guy who I think was like in his late 40s, and at the end of the conversation, I actually don't know if he sees a relationship for himself. I think he's just like a serial
Mm,
dater that like those relationships don't go anywhere, which is totally fine. Like everyone has their own understanding definitions of dating and where they want it to go. But yeah, I guess the first topic is like the need for relationships because I think we've evolved past needing it for like having the bank accounts, having the mortgage together. Like as women, we can now do all that, and we've talked about this before as well. Um,
we
but
can take
now,
care of ourselves,
yeah, we can take care
basically.
of ourselves. So now it's more of not a need basis, but a want basis. That we want companionship. That it would be nice to have someone who has compatible skills and somebody to share a life with. So I think it's more of like something that we choose to go into rather than we have to.
Interesting, because I think like I wouldn't necessarily agree that it's something we choose to. I
Really?
would I would say we have to look back to the history and past even more. I believe this is biological. I mean, it is biological. Like I believe it's much more, human nature is that we crave companionship. And yes, we can claim or argue that if you are surrounded by enough women, you are fine and you would be happy, which probably you would. But I think that if we exclude men completely, let's say, like extreme scenario, we would not feel completely fulfilled in a way. I don't know. I haven't experienced it, but I feel like that's the second part of what I'm saying about biological needs, that there's just something biological where we crave this kind of companionship. It's a normal thing for us to be with people. Like we are not created to be alone. And I would just extend it to as that means that we need the other gender as much as they need us. It brings the balance, If there would only be women in the world, it would be as bad as if there only be men because there are different qualities and energies that we have, which the whole point about feminine and masculine energy that Charlotte was dealing with, I think is quite relevant
Yeah.
here.
But I think
But the
that
point
brings it
is
to like the
the balance.
heterosexual norm. Yeah, yeah, because I don't know if like necessarily in like gay relationships that's so like they have maybe like a different perspective on the balance or like different needs in that case.
I mean, we all have natural inclination to either be more masculine or feminine, or just, it changes depending on context, environment. But I wonder to what extent, if you are overly masculine or overly feminine, that is a combination of nurturing versus genes. That
Yeah,
maybe you were
I mean,
pushed to be very masculine because of the way you were raised, or you were pushed to be very feminine because of the way you were raised.
yeah. No, but that's a whole nature versus nurture thing. Yeah, and that definitely influences, like, who you choose to, like, attract, right? Because then, like, whatever the thing that you think you're missing is what you would want. Which also brings us to Charlotte's case, right? So she, like, was on not even a date with this guy. I think she initially just thought that he had, like, last minute tickets. She
But she
enjoys,
thought
like
he was gay, so
right, no, because she was like, "He is our, like, pastry caterer to the gallery." And I don't think she, like, really you know that thing we talked about, like, when you see a person, you find out, like, you try to figure out if you're attracted to them, yes or no. She, like, never even saw him as a candidate until that moment when he kissed her. But I think, yeah, long story short, she ended up, like, realizing he wasn't for her because some things, like, she saw in him that were overly feminine that she's like, in that case, like, I'd want someone that's more masculine. Which brings me to a hilarious quote from my friend. And he's a guy in DC. He's actually my friend's boyfriend. Um, and so he says that like modern day women, and this is like it kind of relates to masculinity and femininity, but he said that modern day women want a man who is liberal on the inside but conservative on the outside. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, they want someone who's very open minded and like thoughtful, but on the outside, they're very masculine and like raw, like I'm the man that's going to protect you, which is usually like associated with quite conservative traits, at least in America. Which I thought was so interesting. Because the way he made it sound is almost like it's an impossible standard. Of like someone who is very in touch with their emotions, but is also very masculine and will be a protector and like a provider. What are your thoughts?
I agree with that. I mean,
But do you think
that's
that's
what I
attainable?
yes, I saw
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
saw it in practice. I know
Okay.
people who can do it. Is it easy? No. And I do believe it requires a lot of personal growth. I don't think many, well, maybe this generation, like a generation of our generation and when we are mothers, and also like generation before, so like millennials, they would invest much more time into emotional intelligence of their sons. So I think it's getting better. But naturally, and there's still like a lot of toxic masculinity coming from men. Even if you're trying to raise your son in more like emotionally tuned, they still have to compete with each other, and like that's the whole point. Like there is no emotion, just pure ego and power and whatever deals. So I think that it's something they need to work on personally, and it's much more work than it is for women
Yeah.
to do. It's possible, but it's hard. And have I seen it many times? No. Have I seen many guys who would be great if they can grow in that regard? Yes.
Yeah.
Do they
That goes
want to
back to
put
our
the
last
work in?
episode.
Yeah. I mean, the work that they need to put in is probably, well, often they would say feel it's too much and they want to focus on something else. So in that case, it's unfortunate. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I do agree. This is the ultimate idea. Like, just think about all the romantic books that women brought about, like 50 Shades of Grey, for example. That's like the perfect prototype. He's hard on outside, very masculine, but then very soft and emotionally tuned inside.
Sounds like an Aries on the outside and a Pisces on the inside.
Are you trying to say something here? You're the
Nothing.
opposite, by the way.
I am the opposite, but as a woman, that's okay.
So, so yes, that would be great if more men are like that. I don't know how much there is of it,
Yeah, 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 that's totally fair.
but I saw it, so I know it's possible.
Right.
It's the same thing that we need to work on many things, like we need to often learn how to navigate our emotions and hormones. And many men find that crazy, but sometimes it makes you crazy and you need to learn how to live with that.
Yeah, but there's also a fine balance of it because even if you're like emotional, And yes, sure there's like outbursts of it when it seems like you're crazy and acting out, but then there's also the upsides of it, like where a lot of men make like decisions based on like logic and rationality, whereas women are much more in tune with their emotions and they make decisions based on their intuition. In that case, like because sometimes men are not so attuned to their intuition, women might make a better choice because, like in a deal, that person seems a lot more trustworthy or like these kinds of things you pick up on, which are a lot deeper than the surface level, which is what you talked about, like more on the substance level. And I think women are
Yeah.
better at picking up on that rather than, and this like obviously it comes in business and stuff like that. Like, for example, one of actually the better compliments that I've gotten in the workplace is I make a good product manager because of how good I am at understanding people's, like, emotions and reading. So, like, my intuition about customers and their needs and their pain points, I'm very much able to, like, ingest and turn that into, like, requirements, for example. And it's like those kinds of things can help you
I
professionally
mean,
too.
it's easier to relate to others for us because that's the whole part of emotional attune.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about like the energy and balance of it. Like we naturally lean toward one or the other. And I mean, there are differences among, men and women, but overall, these are like feminine and masculine types of energy. But anyway, going back to your question, what do you think about the question?
Which one particular? The one, like, how we evolve past relationships or
No, the one you asked me about, like, is
Oh,
it possible? Or like, do
I
you think
think it
that's
is
true?
possible, and I'm still looking for that wonderful hybrid. I really am. Like, I love a man that's like very ambitious, can self-sustain himself, but also at the same time, when he's with me, he's very like emotional, touchy-feely.
And
That
shows the vulnerable side. I
and
know.
shows the vulnerable side. That is ideal. So anyone who's brave enough to be vulnerable, I think is an absolute gem.
Honestly, this is, I think, the trick to any woman's heart. If a man is listening to this, you just need to be strong on the outside and deep and emotional on the inside, and want to show that and share with the woman. That's it,
Yeah, and
right?
it takes a lot of courage, don't get me wrong, like, people, especially men, and we heard this at the matchmaking event this week, is, like, people are afraid to show their deepest selves because in the past, someone might have, like, stomped all over them before it,
Mm,
and so, like, I think for men, they get particularly, like, defensive, whereas women are more okay with, like, "I will eventually open up again," whereas men are like, they almost swear it off, saying, like,
yeah.
it's now my guard is up, and they might act out and be, like, emotionally unavailable because of it, from what I understood this week.
Hey, that is a good point. I have seen that played out in real life in one of people that I know personally, that they were very sweet and loving and, kind of all in their first relationship. And then when that relationship ended, next relationship they were in, um, just they took on this very cold role, and I've never seen them being that open again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a shame, and obviously, like, healing is a big part of it. But then, onto our other, like, topic of the conversation. Why are men so, like, defensive when you start leaving stuff at their apartment in the relationship?
I mean, why, guys?
Why are
Is
you
that
so
is that
mad? Because Carrie had, like, a really good point. She's like, "Hey, I don't wake up looking like this. I would like to have, like, a toothbrush, like, my deodorant, and, like, basic things at your apartment that because I come here quite often, it would be nice to not have to, like, carry a whole, like, mini suitcase with me every time that I come." I think,
I
like, those
mean,
points are very valid.
have you had this experience? Because from my own life, I've never had this problem. Like every time I would be dating someone, at some point we would be spending time at each other's place, and it was never an issue. I think this is like a Mr. Big problem.
I think it's a Mr. Big problem. Yeah, because I think in all my past relationships, I get, like, a drawer or 2, a little cupboard, like, a little spot in, like, their place for my
Yeah, like
stuff.
they would give it to me at some point naturally. Like it wasn't even a discussion point.
Yeah.
Maybe, and this is not as again like we don't have the objective experience, so we can't say. We can only talk about relationships where guys were still young, and haven't gotten maybe through a divorce or like significant relationship, kids, blah blah.
Yeah.
Maybe at that age, like 40 plus, which is what Mr. Big's age is, you just are more closed and you're just not really into giving so much energy and investing so much energy into the relationship anymore, and you like stuff to be
But
more
that's like
casual.
where it's kind of misaligned though. And this is like again another thing that I like was taking away is make your objectives clear, right? Because it makes it sound like Mr. Big just thinks like they're casual and it's not like even though they said they're in a relationship and they love each other and all this stuff, but like he's taking it so much less seriously. Like it's almost like he doesn't see the path there. And like that for me would be concerning. Like if I was Carrie in this case and he just dropped off my stuff, like are we breaking up? Like what is happening? Why like
Um,
it's something so small and significant that made him gather my stuff into a bag and drop it off. It just seems like it's misaligned.
that I definitely agree that they are not at the same level still. She's looking for, I would say, what we are looking for. Like, I'm looking for that relationship that, we are building life together and we kind of share life together as well. We live together, we have family. I don't think she necessarily care about family, and kids, but we do build that together. And that's what she's looking for. I think he's looking for companionship. Like at some point you go through this stuff in your life and maybe the relationships don't work. And that's the whole thing again, coming back to, your initial question. He wants to have someone that he likes to spend time with, but not necessarily embedding the life together again. And I think there was this concept that they used, separate togetherness, where Carrie, and this is, she for the first time, challenges him, being like, what is it you want? And what is the ideal living situation for two people in a relationship for you? Because it seems like you're pushing me out of your space, and that makes me feel, anxious. So, great evolution point for Carrie to finally stand up for herself directly. But I mean, I wrote down that she was gaslighted here. Uh, I mean, his response was just, he said, like, I don't know, let's save an hour. What do you think I want? Instead
Yeah.
of saying it, he just gaslighted him, being like, oh, let's save an hour. You tell me what I want because clearly you know better. I hate that. But the point is, I think at certain age, and I am speaking based on my observation of people who are past, they raise their kids are out, and now they are having new relationships, but they are not necessarily craving to embed their lives with that person. They are fine having separate lives, and then they meet that when they want to, they spend together when they want to, and then they go back to their,
Everyday lives. Yeah.
base.
And that works for some people, but I just don't think that was part of the arrangement they had.
I mean, like, was it or was it not? Again, I do believe they are looking for different things and they're not communicating it properly, or Carrie is not communicating it properly because she's afraid that if she says it out loud, probably she realized that this is not the right person for her. But I think she's looking for, that relationship where you embed your lives together. He's not. He has done it.
Right. Right.
Or
Right.
maybe he's just I don't know, like this is my analysis of that. And I don't think either of that is wrong. I saw both of them, and I can't really understand the companionship part because I'm young and I'm looking for that person, that is my life partner. But I've seen it, so I know if you're older, you might just look for that. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want
Yeah. Yeah.
just to have good time with someone.
Fair.
But
Fair.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my
Which brings us to Samantha, who is
point.
the queen of good time.
Anyway, hey, what do you think? Do
I got what?
you agree, disagree,
On which
something to
part?
add? The whole point about leaving stuff at one place and like what it means to, like, what is the
I
ideal
just
living
think I
situation?
don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's just pure convenience, right? If I'm here a lot, there should not be a reason why I can't leave my stuff here. Like, I've not encountered a situation where someone was that weird about it.
Yeah, but do you think that the fact that we only dated young people relatively that are still at the beginning of their life might be the reason why?
I don't think so. No, I think it just depends person by person and their approach to the relationship. Because I can also see, like, a young guy being like, "Why are you, like, having" it
Okay, but
depends
like
how, like,
if
people are
I
about
think
their
like
space. I also think it's just
if
that, like
if either you're a weirdo or you're not really into that person, you're gonna behave this way as well. Like you're just
yeah,
gonna be like, yeah, don't leave the stuff here. I would be that. Like if I'm not really interested in the person, I would not want them to leave their stuff at my place.
right. That's honestly it for me. Yeah, on the
Okay.
Samantha front, though, it's, like, it's interesting because she's basically trying to almost, like, get back at Dominic for what he did to her all those years ago, so she's obviously entertaining him with her revenge dress. It's a great night, and then but she told Carrie, she's like, "I'm not gonna sleep with him, I'm not gonna give him that satisfaction," but then she's calling Carrie afterwards, and she's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to remind him, like, how great I am in bed," but then unfortunately, he does tell her that he's trying to get back together with Anka purely for financial reasons, but I think she's still quite disappointed. Which means, like, yes, of course she has evolved past probably like her initial stages of dating and her vulnerabilities in that sense, but she's not like evolved past like having emotions, which I think we've both highlighted that like it's good news even though it doesn't feel
Yeah.
satisfying in the moment because it is quite sad and hurtful for her, but I think it's good news that she still knows that she has, human feelings.
I also think that's how it was portrayed it in the episode that like she realized that she still feels and that's a good thing that she's still a human. Probably for a long time she didn't feel anything and it almost felt like she's just a living shelf that enjoys sex but doesn't have anything deeper. And that goes, oh my God, I didn't realize how relevant my one liner will be for today, but it's all about the substance versus appearance
Yes. Yeah.
dichotomy. And I think another great area where it's it's sex, but it's also a nice thing to know is when you're going through the breakup and you feel it deeply and it hurts, but at the same time, it also makes it real and you realize that you really felt love or you were, you shared your inner whatever part of yourself with someone and you put everything into it and that's why it hurts. And that's a nice thing to know.
No, for sure, and I'd agree, but I think, like, that is a nice and kind of feel-good moment for Samantha. I think, like, we do get, like, glimpses of those every now and then, like,
Yeah.
more on her feelsy, vulnerable side, which is so beautiful.
He has a lot of shields
Yeah, a lot of her
built.
guards are up, but I think there is
Yeah.
quite a bit of depth, which makes her a really cool
There's
character.
a lot of depth, but that she rarely shows. I think there are just a couple of episodes throughout the whole series where she really shows the vulnerability and the need for companionship. Um, I would like to see more of it. I think she's a very
We
cool
do later
character.
on. We do later like, later on when she starts dating Smith.
True, true. There's also like one episode where she got really, really sick and no one is there to take care of her.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great episode. But she is, I think, I mean, she's a person and I like that each character has a flaws, but if she would, work on that a little bit, I think she would be almost there are not that many problems with her if she would be more vulnerable emotionally. Or like being um not putting it on pedestal that she's detached. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Even if you're not looking for love,
I think,
you
yeah,
know,
it depends on the phases you are in your life as well. I think that's where, like, maybe hers coming
actually
from.
that's a good point. Maybe she's also just looking for fun and I don't know though. That's just assumption.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. But then we move on to Miranda, who's also, like, I think
Yes.
is quite very open and vulnerable in the situation. Obviously, she's initially struggling with breaking things off with Steve because I think she genuinely did like him, which I think came to her as a surprise because on paper, he's not at all the kind of guy she'd be interested in, but I think he made her feel things, and that's why she's quite upset about the situation. And it's also upsetting because it's out of her control.
Mm,
And now that she's also like going off of the pill and another one thing after another, and I think like it makes this even more upsetting is she also learns that there are reproductive challenges for her, which then makes her rethink her approach to dating in general. Because I think before that she was, yeah, looking to date, to find a partner to actually date, but now that she's thinking about potentially having or not being able to have kids, it almost adds additional pressure to her, which I think where the evolution piece comes into play now because of like the modern technology, you actually do have other options. But I think it's a pretty
I mean, there's this whole point, I think we mentioned a few episodes back, like around 30 women, if you
it's
want
the
to have
unfair
children,
disadvantage.
like we really start to not be so free and whatever about dating.
Yeah,
I receive a message from a guy that I'm, just chatting and never seen him, but at some point he was like, "Yeah, so I saw you at 29. So how are you thinking about, the whole thing about kids and family? That's something you want to do?" Because I've noticed that women around this age starts to really, put a
interesting.
lot of importance to this.
Yeah,
So is that the
thought
case
into
for
it.
you? Yeah,
Right, right, right. Interesting that guys are asking that. No, I think it's true. And like again, there are different kinds of people, and I think more people are well educated on their reproductive health than others. A number of my friends who've like, for example, like, if they ended long-term relationships, and one of the reasons like they were really sad about obviously ending the relationship with their partner, but the second part is they saw them as the end game and that they would be having kids with them, and then all of a sudden that was taken away from them, so they felt like a little bit powerless until they
yeah,
decided, and gladly my friend's company actually paid for her treatment. So there's actually companies, again, this is like the evolution piece of it, who have
that's great.
budgeted for any kind of reproductive like health
Wow,
costs,
I
right? So
never heard about it. This is
it's actually in
perfect.
the UK. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like they budgeted for anyone who wants to do like IVF, anyone who wants to do like egg freezing treatments and things like
Do you have
that.
to be certain age?
No, I think you're just like a woman in the company.
That's great.
It's really cool, right? And so she
I
went
love
through it
that.
and it made it so much simpler, and it made it also like less of a stigma in the workplace, right? Because that's like the other place where we have challenges, is like you don't want to set yourself back career wise. So this company is like, let
Yeah,
us help you take that burden off so you don't have to make the trade offs right now. Because obviously they value their employees. And so I thought that was like
that's
such a
great.
cool, wholesome approach to it. Definitely need more of that in the US.
I mean, reproductive rights, yes?
Yes, yes. A bit of a struggle right
Question
now.
mark?
A bit of a struggle now.
Um,
Rights in the US in
but
general, question mark, but like
it's something that is quite mm, personal to me. And I do think that there is not much information or not much discussion around this still. The whole point about reproduction and, how fertile you are versus not.
yeah,
I went through something similar a few years ago where, I was in a relationship and that was someone that I saw myself definitely one day with. I was still pretty young, so I didn't think about it like, oh, it's going to be tomorrow. It's like in
right.
years, that's going to be a thing. And then I was hit by a gynecologist being like, yeah, so you have to go through surgery because you have a cyst, but also if you want to have kids, you probably should think about it now. And I was like,
Yeah,
I don't want to think about it now. I'm still too young. So,
right.
long story short, I did do the IVF as well, because from my health perspective, it's just made sense. But it's really hard to go through it. Like I
It's
have a lot of
rounds of it
respect.
from what I understand as well, right? It's not like you don't
Yeah.
sometimes you're lucky and it's like the first 1, 2 rounds, but
So there's the thing: the older you get, the less eggs you have, and the worse the quality. So if you are, like every year, your amount of eggs is halved. Imagine that. That's already a scary thing. So the younger you do it, the better, because A, there are like more chances in terms of eggs that you can get and freeze, and also they are stronger. So if you are older, the older you are, the less of a chance there is that actually you can get an egg that will work. Um, but just the whole process is so
yeah. No, there's
difficult,
definitely not enough
hormonally.
education about it. And I think that's why,
No.
unfortunately, a lot of men are insensitive to it, and I think it is due to the lack of education about it. I think it's women who are hit with that burden and the stigma of like having to worry about it. But
Yeah,
men who, like we've talked about, in their like 30s, 40s, 50s, want to date younger girls because apparently the women in their 30s and 40s are cranky or like, on a timeline. And I was like, I don't think you understand the experience that they're going through. And so I think the
they
lack of
don't.
exposure to it.
And unfortunately, I think that I would say in like two things here. There's not enough information, not enough discussion about this topic overall. Now, for women, that is really not a good thing because you should be informed at least. You can get, for example, very easily measured your fertility anytime you want. You just need to do a blood test, and then it gives you like a number, and it will tell you, yeah, you are like good or you are not good, and you should probably think about freezing your eggs because there is a chance that you might not be able to be pregnant in a few years. Only doing this already, I think, is a huge thing just to give you like an information, right? That I didn't even know that this type of measure you can do until I, had to go through the process. Then there is a whole discussion about men and the fact that they will never be able, well, at the moment, they can't get pregnant. They don't understand what it means to have a child or not. So they will never understand the experience. And I think that that contributes to the fact that they don't care as much, which is unfortunate, but that's, in my opinion, a fact. So I am afraid that they might care like on individual cases. Like if it's their sister or someone, like a friend or their wife, they will really, really be concerned. But as a general,
yeah,
I'm not sure how much this would ever be a thing for them because they don't know what it feels like to be pregnant or understanding that I want to be pregnant or wanting to have a child and how much you have to go through just to be able to be pregnant every month. Um,
yeah.
so
This is
how much
why,
they can
like,
really
men
relate
with
to that, I
sisters,
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like that when they have sisters, it's already a green flag.
No, it is, and it's like if they're close to their mom and, like, close to their sisters, because they actually do get just more exposure to these kinds of conversations, especially and they care a lot more when it is their loved ones,
And there's
which
probably
is
higher chance that they have this like masculine outside and deep and emotionally tuned inside.
it's like, just, female figures in the family, just to bring that awareness to them, because I think, like, guys among guys will never talk about it. They just won't.
No, because why would they? I am pretty sure there are topics that like prostate cancer, for
Yeah.
example, or
Yeah,
just
yeah,
problems
yeah.
with prostate. We don't know what it, yeah, I don't even really know how it feels or what it is in terms of
Yeah.
like issues because we will never experience that. So why would we? I mean, I can't compare prostate issues with having a child and reproduction and all that stuff. But the principle is there.
No, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very big discussion, but I'm glad, like, I'm glad that, like, this is one of the things that they talked about in the actual, like, series, right? Because we all, like, the
Yeah.
show's supposed to be, like, very fun, light, Sex and the City kind of conversations. It's like they go out, they date, and everything else, but I'm really glad that they're touching upon things like someone who's, like, a very, you know, ambitious young professional as Miranda having to, like, face these kinds of things and, like, then faced with picking up her previously turned down scraps and going
Yeah.
on dates with them is also very interesting because, as my friend says, recycling.
And I honestly think like you could not tell besides the way people were probably dressed, this was shot 30 years ago. All of the issues and all of the conclusions or, thoughts that we saw in this episode are the
Still super
same today.
relevant. Yeah.
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 Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same problems, the same struggles, the same maybe misconceptions happens today. So that is really mm, like it's I don't think you can make a series that is ageless like
Yes, yeah,
that
besides
easily.
this one. Yeah. Maybe, like, Friends, I think, is the next closest one. Um, but it doesn't get as deep, I don't think, as this one.
No, yeah. All
So,
right. So the answer to the question that
let's hear it.
Carrie gives us
Yeah.
is,
Have we revolved or
and
not?
suddenly I realized,
I hate the and suddenlies. You know what I'm gonna say.
it's so Carrie. And suddenly I realized I didn't have to worry about leaving something behind because I was there, a picture in his shelf. Okay, sorry, that's like in parentheses. So a context. He was staying at his place, and as she needed to dry her hair with the dryer that she brought again, and she was kind of ready to leave. She was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to leave because I need to, I don't wake up like this." And she was going through his drawers because I don't know why. She found a picture of them that he has there on like towels, which is weird, but okay. Like, why on towels when I'm thinking about it? And she realized that he cares for her a lot. It's just that he shows it differently or maybe stores it differently. And that made her realize that it's not about the things that she keeps there versus not. It's about what he feels in his heart.
Yeah. So I guess the answer that
I
I
like this.
gathered here is I don't know if I like it, but whatever. I never like it anyways. But the thing that I gathered, my own conclusion that I made, because in
Yeah, tell us
everything
your conclusion.
no, I just think like I don't think we've evolved past relationships. I think our relationships have evolved though. Like I agree with that statement, but I don't think, as we talked about, there is still a need for us to satisfy of like having the closeness with someone, whether there's someone of the same or the opposite sex. I don't think that really matters, but like having that connection with someone is quite important. So I don't think we've evolved past that.
Yeah. My
And neither has
conclusion
Big.
I have is there is something intrinsically human or biological about how we approach relationships and how little it has to do with logic still. Because 30 years later, we are still facing the same questions and same answers.
Yeah. And I still like agree because I think Big is the one that we use as the example in Samantha who might have like evolved past having relationships.
No, I
Um
would just say they are more detached or they can,
right.
like, they master the detachment.
Yeah. But they haven't fully evolved past like feeling the need for that closeness.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If they would, it's not human, I think, anymore.
Oh, they're just sociopaths.
Or just, robots. But maybe that's gonna be eventually the distinction between AI and robots and us. There are just some limitations that are not necessarily bad limitations.
Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, great. I
That
think
brings
we
us to
had
the
really
end.
strong conclusions and endings. Yeah.
Look at us go.
Um. Thank you, everyone, that tuned today and join us for this insightful discussion.
Very
What are we
insightful.
having next week? You know,
My God, I'm queuing it up. 1 second, please hold.
you need to be prepared. You
I'm
know.
sorry. I got carried away. I carried away. My jokes are so maybe this is why I'm
No,
still
you know
single.
what is even better when you make a joke and you recognize how great the joke is and you just laugh at it and it's enough for you.
Yeah, that's
That's
just me. That's
the
honestly
ultimate
me.
power move. No one needs to
Um,
be laughing besides you.
I don't know how to pronounce this, Susanna. It's La Delure Exis. I think it's French. Look at it. Do you see it? Do you see it?
La douleur exquise. Okay, I
It's that
can't speak French.
it's where Samantha like invites everyone to that new S&M restaurant where they're all like dressed up
Oh,
in kinky outfits.
okay, so it's gonna be spicy one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when I went on a date last night and then I said we're going to like this club and my date was like, "Is it a sex club?" And I was like, "We're not in Berlin."
Wait, why would he ask that?
I don't know, I think it was just a joke. Uh,
Or it was a hidden
it was an
question.
invitation.
Because like, are you into that?
We'll unpack it. We'll unpack
Yeah,
it.
let's
Um,
see. Look, I give it 2 more dates
before I get taken to a sex club.
before you take him to the sex club.
I don't know any here. But anyways, thanks everyone for
only
listening.
in Berlin, right?
I know they exist there. That's the rumor that I heard.
Right, keep it diplomatic. Anyway, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye guys.